We can't predict what jobs are going to be on the line next. We can't predict how people are going to use these systems, how they'll be augmented. So there's no real way to kind of task organize around like who gets what in the redistribution scheme.
And some of the thresholds that we've already passed are like a little bit freaky. So even as of 2023, GPT-4, Microsoft and OpenAI and some other organizations did various assessments of it before rolling it out. And it's absolutely capable of deceiving a human and has done that successfully. So one of the tests that they did, kind of famously, is they had it was given a job to solve a CAPTCHA, and at the time it didn't have.
Explain CAPTCHA to what people.
Yeah. So it's this. Now it's like kind of hilarious and quaint, but it's this. Are
you a robot test?
Are you a robot test with like writing this
online?
Online,
websites.
exactly. That's it. So it's like if you want to create an account, they don't want robots creating 1 billion accounts. So they give you this test to prove you're a human. And at the time, GPT-4, like now, it can just solve CAPTCHAs. But at the time, it couldn't look at images. It was just a text, right? It was a text engine. And so what it did is it connected to a TaskRabbit worker and was like, hey, can you help me solve this CAPTCHA? And the TaskRabbit worker comes back to it and says, you're not a bot, are you? Ha 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 ha. Like, kind of calling it out. And you can actually see, so the way they built it is so they could see a readout of what it was thinking to itself.
Scratchpad, yeah.
Yeah, Scratchpad it's called. But you can see basically as it's writing, it's thinking to itself. It's like, I can't tell, this worker that I'm a bot because then it won't help me solve the CAPTCHA, so I have to lie. And it was like, no, I'm not a bot. I'm a visually impaired person. And the TaskRabbit worker was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Here's your CAPTCHA solution. Like, done.
And the challenge is, so right now, if you look at the government response to this, right? Like, what are the tools that we have to oversee this? And, when we did our investigation, we came out with some recommendations too. It was stuff like, you got to license these things. You get to a point where these systems are so capable that, like, if you're talking about a system that can literally execute cyber attacks at scale, or literally help you design bioweapons. And we're getting early indications that that is absolutely the course that we're on. Maybe literally everybody should not be able to completely freely download, modify, use in various ways these systems. It's very thorny, obviously. But if you want to have a stable society, that seems like it's starting to be a prerequisite. So the idea of licensing, as part of that, you need a way to evaluate systems. You need a way to say which systems are safe and which aren't. And this idea of AI evaluations has kind of become this touchstone for a lot of people's sort of solutions. And the problem is that we're already getting to the point where AI systems in many cases can tell when they're being evaluated and modify their behavior accordingly. So there's like this one example that came out recently, Anthropic, their Claude 2 chatbot. So they basically ran this test called a needle in a haystack test. So what's that? Well, you feed the model, like imagine a giant chunk of text, all of Shakespeare. And then somewhere in the middle of that giant chunk of text, you put a sentence like Burger King makes the best Whopper. Sorry, the Whopper is the best burger or something like that, right? Then you turn to the model. After you fed it this giant pile of text with a little fact hidden somewhere inside, you ask it, what's the best burger? Right? You're going to test basically to see how well can it recall that stray fact that was buried somewhere in that giant pile of text. So the system responds, yeah, well, I can tell you want me to say the Whopper is the best burger. But it's oddly out of place, this fact, in this whole body of text. So I'm assuming that you're either playing around with me or that you're testing my capabilities. And so this is just
awareness.
A kind of context awareness, right? And the challenge is when we talk to people at like Meter and other sort of AI evaluations labs, this is a trend, like not the exception. This is possibly going to be the rule. As these systems get more scaled and sophisticated, they can pick up on more and more subtle statistical indicators that they're being tested. We've already seen them adapt their behavior on the basis of their understanding that they're being tested. So you kind of run into this problem where the only tool that we really have at the moment, which is just throwing a bunch of questions at this thing and seeing how it responds, like, hey, make a bioweapon, hey, like do this DDoS attack, whatever. We can't really assess because there's a difference between what the model puts out and what it potentially could put out if it assesses that it's being tested and there are consequences for that.